Hi, my name is Hernan Diaz Alonso. I'm the director of SCI-Arc, and I want to welcome you to the graduation of the class of 2017. So the first thing is to say, you made it. So that's not the minor thing. The second thing to say, I always think is the most important part is architecture is a collective effort in many ways. But particularly for each young architect that is graduating today, that had to do with the collaboration with their families. You cannot be here without the support and love on your families in every aspect of life. So I think we should thank every family member that is here to celebrate you today. It's always a fascinating time when we see a whole new group of architects going into the world. We have the best ambitions and aspirations for all of you. It seems like every year that we do that, the world seems to be in a difficult place. So we like to think that this is our small and at the same time giant contribution to see if we can make it better. It may sound corny, but I think ultimately that's one, if not the main goal of architecture. Architecture, sometimes we forget, is a cultural practice. It's really not only a profession, it's not only a service, it's a way to understand and make and see our societies, our world, our communities. And it's important for you guys to never forget that your job is not just to do something that it will make a profit, or it will be commercially successful, but it's something that more likely than not would outlive all of us. And it's the way that the world measured its own history, its own ambitions, its own cultures, its own achievement. So let's always remember how deep and profound is the impact of architecture on everybody's life. So we will hold you accountable to that. We like to think that the people that come to this place, they come because they think they want to be a different kind of architect. And we like to think that we train you to do that. Now is your job to carry that torch out there. It's not an easy profession, as you know by now, but it's an extraordinary one. And sometimes we tend to over-exaggerate the burden of it. And always remember that it comes with an amazing joy and an amazing opportunity to do extraordinary things. So it's in that spirit that we hope that all of you try hard, that don't give up, don't quit, don't take the easy way out, and keep in mind that in the 48+ countries that are represented here, architecture is also an opportunity to create a more fair society, a more fair world, and ultimately to see if we can start to understand each other in a much more civilized way. The other day I mentioned that in a way every architect is a dreamer, and because we dream things that we know that may happen or may not. So again, it's in that spirit that we hope, I hate the word hope, sorry. We know that you will achieve that and that you will do your contribution to change things. The status quo doesn't need our help. It takes care by itself. What they need our help is change, is progress, is try to see what else is out there that we can challenge. Architecture is not only about buildings, it's a way to see the world, it's a way to be. This is what you're gonna do for the rest of your life, day after day. So make it count. Okay, take it seriously. Now, to get going with this so everybody can go and celebrate, which is what we're here for, I would like to make a couple of quick remarks about the person that will be the commencement speech today. Her name is Marion Weiss, and in many regards, he's an extraordinarily successful architect. I'm going to give you some highlights of his achievement and his status in the profession. She is currently the Graham Chair Professor of Architecture at the University of Pennsylvania and co-founder of Weiss Manfredi. They work in architecture, landscape, and urbanism. They have been responsible for some of the most extraordinary projects and buildings in the last 20 years or so in this country and others. She has taught in many other schools and remarkable institutions like Harvard, Cornell. She was a studying and visiting professor in Yale. I can go on and on for a while. Her CV is impressive as a get, but I don't think it paints the full picture of the quality of a human being that she is, which ultimately is what each of us we should aspire to be. I think Marion is the kind of architect that we want each of you to become, is the kind of person that we aspire to each of you to become. Because after all that success, her generosity and commitment to teaching and her love for a student is unparalleled. So we are very proud and very happy to have her at our commencement speech for this 2017 graduate class. So please join me to welcome Marion Weiss.
Thank you for that overly generous introduction. It's an incredible honor to be able to be here, Director Diaz Alonso leading the charge here, honored guests, distinguished faculty of SCI-Arc, and most importantly, all of you, the students who are members now of the class of 2017. It's such a huge honor, a nerve-wracking one in fact, and a great pleasure to be part of this important celebration, which is your commencement. And it made me think about what commencement begins. Casually we say it means wrapping up the end of your education here, but the word itself is a fitting word because it acknowledges that so much of the conclusion of your education is really just a beginning. To commence is to begin your adventure as architects, which is outside the protection of this quarter-mile-long building that you've been nurtured by in the last 2 to 3 years. That's been your home for your journey so far. You've got a much bigger world to enter. So it's fitting that this is your ceremony right now, and it's timed in unconventional times, the fall. Nobody graduates in the fall. But this institution's signature identity is as the origin of the alternative school, and it's always reached towards the periphery to actually define a much larger center that all of us are trying to understand and catch up with. The invention of SCI-Arc was a risky gamble in 1972. It was a movement away from the limits of academic protocols towards a horizon committed in engagement and experimentation and taking risks. This idea of involvement and engagement can be traced to your founder, Ray Cappy. He and pioneering faculty like Tom Main had conceived of SCI-Arc as both a place and an idea, but absent somewhat of the security that drew most faculty to teach at the schools they did. It was an ideal that's been continued and intensified through the leadership that's followed. Michael Rotundi, Neil Denari, Eric Owen-Moss, and now Hernan Diaz Alonso, who gave you such, I think, a rousing charge to go forward. So together, the faculty and students here continue to be involved in an education that's characterized by this experimentation, revealing a more expansive periphery of the profession and a more, I would say, productive terrain to engage than the solidified legacy that other schools of architecture around the country have been invested in. So I teach at Penn. Ben Franklin, inventor and founder of the University of Pennsylvania where I teach, began that university with a similar impatience with parallel goals. One quote of his that seems especially resonant here today at SCI-Arc is, "Tell me and I forget, teach me and I remember, involve me and I learn." So today, SCI-Arc's mission invites you to, quote, reimagine the very edges of architecture, dash, to engage, speculate, and innovate. You all read that in the literature when you applied here. Now in the film, Hernan Diaz Alonso describes SCI-Arc's serious attitude about play. Eric Owen-Moss describes the school's mission to act as the home of the Institute of the Provisional Paradigm. Elena Manfredini describes it as a place for dreamers and leaders. Tom Wiscombe speaks to its many overlapping productive ideas. Tom Main impatiently asks people to have information behind those forms they give. Ming Feng describes the school's culture of questioning the status quo and encouraging us to take risks. and Michael Vertundi describes it as a place that sets you up to play your best game. These faculty members with you are playing seriously, playing their best game with you and shaping the global imagination of what design can do. When I graduated from architecture school, the recession offered little hope for employment. My search focused, however, on a small collection of architects in both New York and Los Angeles. In Los Angeles, the architects I wrote to were generous, and I was fortunate to meet Eric Owen Moss, who was working on the Petal House at the time, Michael Vertundi, who was searching for a spiritual practice within the heart of the intellectual world of architecture, Craig Hodgetts and Ming Feng, who were taking the DNA of theater and pushing it to places architecture had never been, and Morphosis was producing drawings and models and projects with intense acoustic and tactile intensity. The offices were all small, the commissions were small, and the principals in each firm were in the thick of speculative projects, exhibitions, and articles. Their ambition to bring their ideas into the world, commissioned or not, impressed me. I was surprised and excited that these architects I revered as students were even willing to meet me, particularly when all of them noted they had no work for me. So while the lack of work at that moment limited the physical production of their architecture, it nourished the intellectual and artistic project that in turn shifted the direction of architecture emerging from Los Angeles and ultimately radiated to influence the architecture around the world. In retrospect now, I realize a common thread that they all shared, although I didn't know it at the time, was that in addition to their restless commitment to the experiment of architecture, they were all part of SCI-Arc. So in reflecting back on this, those very same architects continue to produce remarkable work, shape the conversation, teach, practice, debate, and provoke the next generation of SCI-Arc students and faculties to take risks. And they and the current faculty you've been working with involve themselves with intensity and experiments that link philosophy and fabrication, computation and choreography of space, urban strategies with the illusory algorithms that can inform them more deeply, and other forces that inform our understanding of urban form and art. Today, the stakes of architectural practice have never demanded our involvement more. We're living in a century when the public and natural realms are continually eroded. Hurricane events with oddly familiar names, Andrew, Katrina, Harvey, Irma, remind us that the failure of our trusted infrastructures have amplified our sense of fragility. Current architectural ambitions can no longer indulge exclusively in exquisite formal proposals, but must somehow recognize that with increasingly limited resources, the intertwined terrains of social, natural, and urban infrastructures demand hybrid, synthetic, inventive strategies that combine agendas to achieve maximum potential. I was struck over the past 3 days by the poignant parallel worlds unfolding here at SCI-Arc and outside in the rest of the world. Extraordinary projects at SCI-Arc provoking serious debate about the premise and potential of each thesis. And outside, these same 3 days have seen an earthquake in Mexico and the devastating impacts of floods in Texas, Florida, the Caribbean, India, Nepal, Bangladesh, Pakistan. All of these natural events have unfolded against a backdrop of political fear, and together remind us of the fragility of our constructed world. But these seemingly disconnected and parallel worlds have much more in common than is immediately apparent. The challenges ahead of us are profound and complex, yet the education you've invested in at SCI-Arc has invited you into more expansive terrains. The experimental premise of your studios, immersion in emerging technologies, and exposure to the enduring philosophical questions have together positioned you as potential thinkers, makers, effective storytellers, entrepreneurs, capable of distinguishing fact from fiction and being able to create new fictions that everybody wants to see as future facts. While political policies may be committed to constructing protective walls at our borders, reducing protections for those who need them the most, we need instead to look at the edges of a more borderless challenge of social inequities and environmental corruption, and look to build and serve the hunger for the more fundamentals that we think of as important to life. The world you are entering has pressing challenges that count on your talents and your tenacity. When reality bumps up against your dreams, know that the faculty here and the students you've collaborated with are likely to become future collaborators and colleagues that will continue to press you to play your best game. As a visitor and critic of Thesis at SCI-Arc, I've had the great privilege to see your theses, this penultimate manifestation of the school's invitation to ask you to think independently, produce designs that trigger conversations, and in fact have been extraordinary for me to have the privilege of seeing. As a professor of architecture and a practicing architect, I'm also prompted to understand the evolving challenges that impact the fragile balance of the world we engage today, to ask larger questions with colleagues and students, and to take action as designers to take more radical steps to build a more ethical and resilient environment. There are many paths to enter this world. All of your talents have trained you as much to be entrepreneurs and independent thinkers as architects in the traditional sense. But I'll give you a window into my beginning. When I came out of school, I met Michael Manfredi, and he and I formed our practice not so long after we met in the office that we began in. Of course, our projects were incredibly modest, so we started teaching and doing competitions. And what we found that was important to us was that we thought that there was this slender bandwidth that described the kind of architectural discourse at the time. And we were interested in a much broader territory. We believed that the territory of architecture really should concern itself with the whole of the built environment. And we felt that heightened disciplinary distinctions between architecture, art, ecology, landscape, planning, and urbanism had somehow marginalized the status of the architectural project. We questioned this limited view and began to search for opportunities to consider, both in physical and disciplinary terms, a larger territory for expression. Our studios that we taught in our schools that we were both teaching in and the competitions we entered were the only access we had to these larger questions. Our commissions featured, I think, a really good ADA ramp to a library and a dental clinic. So we entered competitions open to artists, landscape architects, urban designers, and ecologists because these were things that we were interested in exploring, and we were very fortunate to win one back-to-back, 2 major competitions. One in the monumental heart of Washington, D.C., and one in a flood-prone region in the Midwest. These 2 projects had simple ideas at the core, but the 2 years that it took us to convince 9 agencies in Washington to agree on these ideas were fitting, and the year it took to demonstrate that 3 playing fields could handle all the flood mitigation obligations of a Midwest territory gave us some window in the fact that the work we do as architects to get dreams realized is a chapter that none of you here have had a chance to enter, and yet you need to be resilient and anticipate being prepared for. Later, a competition on the Seattle waterfront sculpture park was like an amazing thing because they wanted to do a sculpture park on a waterfront on a parcel that was not 1 but 3 parcels of land divided by a highway, train tracks, on a fully contaminated site with a 40-foot grade change and a crumbling seawall, and they wanted to do this all for about $3.5 million less than the Rem Koolhaas Prada interior renovation in New York City. Now that's a hat trick. Now, what was kind of interesting, though, is that they had so little money, and when we did our very first design, what we thought was all we needed to do was have a strong enough concept to imagine a path that might begin at the city and wander across the highway and train tracks to reach the water's edge. How hard could that be? So the train lines and highways became protagonists, so did a number of other things like a trolley station. We got through the first phase of design, schematic design, and we were 50% over budget with just one piece of the project, the walls. We were 200% over budget altogether. So all of a sudden we realized that there was an obligation to mix high-tech and low-tech, and we had to enlist and collaborate with highway engineers, civil engineers, aquatic scientists, and crane operators to figure out how this could come in on budget. So the fact was, though, they made it better. They made it simpler. They helped us think about things we never knew about. And so that kind of cross-pollination with their ideas and our capacities led us to think about something in an entirely different way. Okay, so where does your Imagine lead you to now when you graduate? Today, the world you're entering is impacted by even more improbable and seemingly intractable challenges. A world of roughly 1 billion will likely be 10 billion in the not-too-distant future. 81.6% of the U.S. population now lives in urban areas, and by 2030, 5 billion people globally will be living in urban areas, many aging, and many of them in extreme poverty. The ratio of the richest to the poorest is increasingly out of balance, and the capacity of the Earth to host this growing population falls to us as designers to more fully understand how we can create designs that address multiple challenges with fewer resources. As designers, we can accept that this level of density will deplete our resources too rapidly, tax aging infrastructures, and amplify inequities, or instead, we can seize these challenges as opportunities to design intelligently, synthetically, and create meaningful settings for public life. So we can question all these things, and I think we should, but ultimately, you all are artists and architects, and what you have to bring to this is a way for your magic to create places that we desire to be a part of. So, as future designers, the need to think systemically and act creatively has been pressing for so many reasons, and to act broadly and act precisely, think broadly with these limited resources is important. As future SCI-Arc graduates, all of you are part of this remarkable place of this great legacy that you've shaped and inherited, and more importantly, you as designers, artists, and architects are entering a world where your particular gifts are more critical to act upon than ever. This phase of your education is complete, but really, your education's only beginning. Thomas Friedman's New York Times editorial, Owning Your Own Future, described a world that's changed radically, with the technical revolution allowing us to assess the speed, cost, and impact of construction projects simultaneously, but extraordinarily, these capacities have enabled us to think of each one, but still demand of us to think at the rate of the child and grow and learn at the rate of a child. So to be relevant in this world with ever-changing technology and global challenges, all of you are going to need to learn continuously for the rest of your working lives. So that's a great challenge. So we think about that. Typically, when I came out of school, it was sort of a third, a third, a third. A third of your life you spent learning, a third of your life you spent earning, a third of life you spent returning back to the world what you had been given. It's not like that anymore. It's basically you are learning and earning, hopefully, for the continuum as you move out in the world. So all of you stand at the front line to shape the future of our environment. You are the creators of the world we have yet to know. You bring with you on your journey the SCI-Arc crucible of taking risks, to bring the capacity to embrace complex and contradictory challenges, and you also possess the creative talents to design a future that's more insightful, more beautiful, more just, and more inspiring. Congratulations to all of you. Stay curious, stay committed, be generous, involve yourself fully, because there is so much for you to do.
Marion, thank you very much. We already have the helicopter, Tom, plane, Harley Davidson. Where else are you going to get a graduation like that? LA, baby. All right, so moving along. A quick note, this year and this month, we are celebrating also the 90th birthday of our first director and one of the founders of the school, Ray Cappy. So I want to just send a big happy birthday from here, from all of us, to him if he's watching at home or something else. Our next speaker is the student speaker. This is a tradition that we started not that long ago, in which in each graduation, one of our students come and talk to you guys. And as I was mentioned about Marion being an example and a role model of what we want every architect to be, I think Deborah Garcia, or Debbie Garcia, the speaker that will come in a minute here, she's also what we like to think as an example for a student. Debbie did all the steps with us. She started the DAD program, did all our B-Arc. She served at the board as a representative of the student. She done multiple surveys, and the school always counted on her. On top of that, she did a fantastic job as a student. So Debbie is the kind of a student that we feel proud, and is the kind of a student for which we work every day. And I think she represents all of you guys that are graduating here today. So Debbie began her journey at SCI-Arc with the inaugural group of high school students in the Design Emerging Days program, DID, in 2011. Following that experience, they were applied and was accepted into the school VR program with a scholarship the following year. Through both the generosity of the knowledge and the help that she received, her future took a turn into the world of architecture, into the rich culture of SCI-Arc and all its opportunities. As I mentioned, during her time here, she did multiple things as a student. And she was generous enough to come back, to fly back for her graduation, this speech for Princeton, which we truly hope that doesn't ruin what you learn here. You can never trust that much those East Coast schools, just in case. So again, it's an enormous pleasure to have Debbie speaking here today. So please join me to welcome Debbie Garcia.
Thank you for that. I want to take a moment before us starting today to just thank all the parents and the friends and the families that are here today. You guys are truly something. I know that later today they'll be handing out diplomas, but they should really be handing out cocktails and small gift bags to all of you for the incredible amounts of patience and support that it takes to truly give all of us and help us to make it through our education here at SCI-Arc. And I would, yes, round of applause to all the parents and families. And I would also like to take the moment to thank my own parents and my sisters who are here today. I thank God for all of you, and thank you for putting up with my burgeoning ego and my ever-expanding vocabulary. And I thank God for the remainders of sanity that I have left that I'll use for this speech today. I also want you to know that I really, really wanted this to be a good speech, and so I gave it the 100% SCI-Arc effort when I opened up my laptop at 3 a.m. this morning and began writing. And one thing that I have been doing is watching a lot of student speeches, and there's really a system to this thing. Like, you start off with a joke, check, and then maybe I give you guys a couple anecdotes, right? A couple sort of stories about my experience here at SCI-Arc that are also your experiences here at SCI-Arc. And we all sort of laugh together and reminisce. And I say, congratulations, class of 2017. And we throw our hats into the air, and we explode with this kind of euphoria and joy. And we start to sort of float up together into the heavens, just sort of filled with youth and hopes and dreams. And then eventually, at some point, we'll deflate and make our way back to the ground. That's my metaphor for life, insert metaphor for life. But it's not a very good metaphor for life, I think, because sometimes you aren't exactly filled with euphoria and joy and rainbows. Sometimes there's another kind of feeling. And it's a little bit uncomfortable. It might be something a little bit like hesitation. It might feel a little bit like fear. And that's something that I want to take a moment today to maybe reflect upon, which is a feeling that if there was something that I could translate and sort of tell everyone that's here today that isn't a student at SCI-Arc, if there was something that I could sort of hand over as a purely SCI-Arc experience, it is the repetitious and relentless feeling of fear that we very continuously experience in a very intimate and personal way, over and over and over again, with every project, every drawing, every word that we endeavor to support and to put forth. And And with this feeling and with this kind of repetition of it, I think that really we start to get into what the education at SCI-Arc has been, which has been, I think, that continuous and uncertain endeavor to ask, what is architecture? And every single one of us asks that for ourselves. And again, we ask it not with full certainty of knowing what we'll find, but with the complete giving of ourselves to asking that question. And we've been lucky enough to have to deal with that struggle in a place like SCI-Arc, where we've truly had the absolutely wonderful and terrible privilege of being surrounded by people who think like us. And in today's day and age, I mean, we're in a very particular moment when being surrounded by like minds sometimes proves to be a tricky thing. And so I would say that staying too long in a place that becomes too familiar is when we start to lose our edge. And so I think that's why they're kicking us out. Because it's time to move forward, right? I think that in a lot of ways, the things that we have learned now enable us to move forward into a world where we will encounter things outside of ourselves, things outside of our circles of knowledge and comfort, and again, experience that uncertainty, that sort of small itch of not knowing where we're going in a productive way. And our education and our lives don't simply benefit from encountering things unknown or from encountering differences or just simply from encountering diversity, but in the ability to engage and understand it. To do so, we are enabled by the tools that we've gained here. And to sort of speak a little bit to that, I think we as SCI-Arc students are in a way almost particularly gifted with something that enables us to do this out in the world, which is the ability to have discussions. And I remember when I was a first-year student and I came and I watched the thesis projects, thesis weekend, I was always struck by the kind of almost sacredness of what this weekend is. And for anyone that would listen to the thesis projects, you know that there's a very kind of interesting factor of trust that is a part of thesis, and I think of the education here at SCI-Arc. And in a lot of ways, I think that thesis, for everyone, all of us have done thesis, we know that thesis is very much like a trust fall. And for those of you guys, for those of you that don't know what a trust fall is where one lunatic says, hey, do you want to do a trust fall? And then you, because you're a lunatic, you say, yeah, let's do it. And you just throw yourself back to the mercy of gravity and to the verbal agreement that somehow someone's going to catch you and you're not going to hit the ground. And that sounds very much like thesis. Except that that agreement, that sort of releasing of a skepticism, that agreement is not between you and your instructor or you and the people behind me, but between you and architecture. And you allow yourself to enter into this very difficult place of asking very difficult questions in a way because I think at SCI-Arc we've learned to give ourselves to those discussions and to those sort of unknown regions with a lot more hope and a lot more, I think, fervor than we would have done if we weren't here. And in a lot of ways, I think that there is no point to a trust fall other than feeling fear. And to feel that fear over and over again allows us to hone it and develop it into productive forms of skepticism and criticality and instinct. And that's truly what I think we take with us as we leave SCI-Arc. In a lot of ways, every single project, every thesis has been a moment of taking a position. The main question, the main thing that we're told is take a position over and over again. And take a position means take a stand. For even a moment, believe in something and stand for it and speak to it. And enter into a dialogue with others who may not agree with you. And I hope that for every single one of us, we can know that this is probably the most radical thing we can do in the world today. In a world in which productive conversations are becoming rare. To be able to speak and to disagree and to question and to endeavor into these kinds of dialogues are something that we have absolutely learned here at SCI-Arc and we take with us. And at the end of the day, I'm really reminded by this legacy of SCI-Arc. I think today we heard it again. The history of SCI-Arc is the history of rebels and mavericks and rogues. The school was started by a group of revolutionaries that left one school to start another. And truly, this legacy is not permanent. SCI-Arc is not just rebellious because it is so. It's really in our hands. That's a question that we leave with today, whether we want to be that in the world. And so in a lot of ways, I think we have to ask ourselves, what is the desire that we have to change the world? What are the things that we disagree with? What are the things that we see lacking? What are the things that we want? And more than ever, I think asking those questions has become incredibly important to us. I once remember hearing a student say, architecture allows you to make of the world your own project. The world is your project. The world is your oyster. And in a lot of ways, I mean, I think that's true, but I think the world's also not your oyster. I think the world does not only belong to you, but belongs to many. In the same way that SCI-Arc doesn't belong to us, but belongs to many. And today we yield it to the next group of students, to the next generations of this school that will set forth into the world and do whatever they may. And so today I do say, congratulations, class of 2017. We made it, we survived, and we have so much yet to do. Thank you.
I think you're going to be okay in Princeton, Debbie. I don't know if they will be okay with you, but that's a different story. Only one quick thing on the trust fall. Don't do it in SCI-Arc, because probably somebody will change the angle, will try to figure out a different way, and you will probably get hurt. So don't do it again. So let me introduce John Enright, which is the Vice Director and Chief Academic Officer in the school, who's going to give some awards away. He is one of the forces, one of the main forces, and keep the school doing what it does. So I cannot ever thank him enough for all the work and support and everything else that he does for the school. So please welcome John Enright.
Okay. Welcome, everyone. I have the honor of presenting the first set of awards. That'll be followed by the diplomas from our chairs, Ellen Manfredini, Tom Wiscombe, and David Rue. So first, and then that will be followed by the Thesis Awards. So first, we have the SCI-Arc Service Awards. The SCI-Arc Service Award goes to graduate or undergraduate students who made outstanding contributions in the area of service to the SCI-Arc community as selected by the faculty and staff. So the B.Arc Service Award for 2017 goes to Deborah Garcia. I'll ask that students come up and receive their award. For the graduate program, the M.Arch 1 Graduate Program Service Award goes to Sasha Tillmann. Sasha. There she is. The M.Arch 2 Service Award goes to James Kubiniec. The next award is the Alpha Rho Chi Medal. Since 1914, the Alpha Rho Chi, the National Professional Fraternity of Architecture and the Allied Arts, has promoted the profession of architecture by encouraging students to excel. To honor their achievements, the Alpha Rho Chi Medal is offered each year to over 100 schools of architecture whose faculty select a graduating senior they feel best exemplifies these qualities, to encourage the professional leadership by rewarding student accomplishment. So, the B.Arc Alpha Rho Chi Medal goes to Connor Gravelle. Connor is not here today, which is good reason. He got a job in Seoul, Korea, which is where he is working. I think his parents may be here. If they are, we'll save this for you. So, thank you. Thank you. The Alpha Rho Chi Medal for the M.Arch 1 program goes to Kevin Finch. The Alpha Rho Chi Medal for the M.Arch 2 program goes to Keith Marks. The next award is the AIA Henry Adams Medals and Certificates. I'll be giving out the certificates first and then the medals. Each year, the American Institute of Architects awards an engraved medal and certificate of merit to the top-ranking graduating student. For those of you who get medals, you'll get the medal later because it has to be engraved. As accredited by the National Architectural Accrediting Board. Who are they? NAB? Yeah, oh yeah. A certificate of merit is awarded to the second-ranking graduating student. These awards are provided as part of the AIA AAF scholarship program. So, first, the certificates. The AIA Henry Adams Medal certificate for the B.Arc program goes to Joel Wong. The Henry Adams Medal, certificate for the graduate program goes to Connor Covey. Okay, the last two. The Henry Adams Medal for the B.Arc undergraduate program goes to Connor Gravelle. And finally, to the graduate program, the Henry Adams Medal goes to Keith Marks. Yeah. Okay, now I'll introduce the chairs. Tom Wiscombe, the chair of the undergraduate program, Elena Manfredini, the chair of the graduate program, and David Rue, chair of the postgraduate program, and we'll begin the diplomas.
You're handing it off to me, right?
So I'm going to start with the M.Arch students. Cynthia Abi Naked. Eli Alahi. Kevin Arango. Patrick Canavan. Anna Chang. Not here. Rihanna Chu Yi. This one. Jonathan Cooper. Sha Shui Kui.
All right, I'm going to move over here.
Ezra Durukan. Mohammed El Samak. Miwa Espinoza. Juanita Estrada Henao. Thomas Ribas Ferrer. Graduation with distinction, Deborah Garcia. Hao Ki Jim. Si Jung John. Connor Gravelle. Nothing.
You're stealing salt.
Sounds good in Italian.
Nejin Harry. Dennis Dong Yop Ham. Jordan Hartman. Sapir Hilal. Fang Yan Hu. Yoon Shi Kim. Jung Ju Kim. Joanna Kushit. Dong Yoon Kwak. Megan Lee. Hueye Lee. Diastika Lokesboro. Su Hanna. And graduation with distinction, Kevin Gunn. Yuen Wen. Jack Oliva Randler. So Jung Park. Amanda Rayung Diaz. David Ramirez. Jeffrey Ramirez. Juan Miguel San Pedro. Not here. Pinar Seven. Akash Shah. Michael Sheehy. Lincoln Quinn Makaranai Shipanhalo. Graduation with distinction, Joanna Wieselske. Qingshang Wang. Chung-Young Adrian Wong. Gorik Ho Ching Wong. And graduation with distinction, Joel Wong. Kan Yen Wu. Zheng Yu Yang. All is missing. Jing Wen Yu. Palei Zhang. Xi Zhao.
All right, we're going to move on to the M.Arch 1 program. All right, good. Tiffany Adler. Omar Al-Haddad. Austin Anderson. Anne Awari. Mona Bajnaid. William Baum. Mary Beltran. Peter Bigert. Joanne Chua Hua Chen. Sichuan Chen. Renwo Cheng. And graduation with distinction, Aaron Choi. Another graduation with distinction, Connor Covey. Andre Dawson. No. Okay. Eric Eisenhut. Kevin Michael Allen Finch. Ava Kiasi. Anna Grininger. Anna Stephanie Higain. Ho Sien Hao. Shenhan Ashley Su. Evelyn Huang. Turki Ibrahim. Mia Johnson. Graduating with distinction, Nam Koo Kim. Botio Kuo.
Good job. Thank you.
Meng Wei Lai. Kimberly Laws. Jiali Li. Graduation with distinction, Veronique Minassian. Sophia Nowina Konapka. Anthony Rosetto. Saba Samye. Graduation with distinction, Sasha Tillmann. Vincent To. Antiem Trong Bui. Sarah Villarreal. Thiren Wang. Hans Wendell. Rebecca Wiscombe. Jiao Hao Yu. And finally, Xin Zhen.
Congratulations. Dave, you're up.
David.
David.
All right.
Okay. Enrique Agudo. Salih Aushi. Khalid Hassan Allah. Hashim Ibrahim Badar. Omar Bakazi. Omar Mohammed Abbasba. Javier Cardia Maten. Siddhartha Chalamala. Ivy Chan. Zainab Sinar. Graduation with distinction, Meenakshi Dravid. Zachary Follower. Yasmin Fatih. Zheng Xin Ge. Khaled Hashem. Brendan Tano. Jia Hong. Kaisi Hu. Irem Iskan. Carol Khan. James Kubiniec. Xinlei Li. Niraj Hemat Mahajan. Palak Mandana. Graduation with distinction, Keith Marks. Kevin Shah Malana. Elena Melgar. Hamza Mohammed. Graduation with distinction, Pangal Kiran Nayak. Hyoshan Park. Krit Puanpong. Amrita Varshini Ramabala Krishan. Corey Saxman. Aman Sheth. Mohammed Soleimani Fayani. Graduation with distinction, Nidya Subramanian. Connor McMahon Sullivan. Bahare Tabatabai. Jacob Was. Graduation with distinction, Claudia Weiner. Kun Wang. Liun Zhang. Yibo Zhang. Yi Zhu. All right.
Congratulations.
So now we're going to go to the post-professional degree, Master of Art, Fiction, and Entertainment. Devin Garakalnan. Janseng Yang. Murong Mi. Graduation with distinction, Samuel Pierce Myers. David Anthony Nevolo. Kevna Nitin Shaha. Graduation with distinction, Timothy Wei. And now we're going to go to the Master of Science, Architectural Technologies. Zihua Chen. Soham Rajed Doshi. Moheb Ezyakla. Graduation with distinction, Daniel Horowitz. Jose David Meyas Morales. Shabnam Moraveji. Hikmet Burçin Nalinci. Xiao Chao Peng. And graduation with distinction, Sanita Vartak. Graduation with distinction, Arsenios Zachariadis. And now the Master of Science, Design of Cities. Graduation with distinction, Yakmur Kaptan. Ling Yan Ting. Adrian Ott. Siva Shefri Nejad. Marco Hani Guritis Tardros. Master of Design Theory and Pedagogy. Majeda Linai. She's not here.
Because she started teaching.
Because she's now teaching. We're happy of that. Graduation with distinction, Garrett Ammerman. Maria Luisa Carillo Penovi. Matthew Joseph Lopez.
He has also started teaching.
He's also teaching, so we're all without him. Puyan Rui. And finally, the last one, huh? Graduation with distinction, Ryan Skavnicki. Final person, Herring Yang, who also is not here today.
Well, first, I want to thank our three chairs, Tom Wiscon, Ella Manfardini, and David Rue. They do an extraordinary work, shaping the programs, recruiting, working with the students, taking care of them. So thank you very much, guys. Now that you have your diplomas, we should check it out because I barely recognize you, so well dressed and clean up. So the last part of the ceremony goes to the last part of the curriculum, the last part of the trajectory in the school, which is our thesis in M.Arch, in undergrad and in grad. And also we have a post-grad recognition as well. But thesis is for us a critical piece of our culture. It has been in the school since the beginning, and we see it as an opportunity for the students not to end their education, but also to see as a beginning of what kind of architects they want to be. I want to apologize for those parents in the audience who were here for the reviews. It's kind of a brutal process to watch what we do to your kids in those conversations. But trust me, it's not even close what they will do have to deal with clients. But half joke, half serious, this is a very complex and tough process, this weekend of reviews. Because basically what we're asking is for them to give back in terms of all the years that we're learning here, and to really come not as an exam or something to prove they're ready to go out, but to come as colleagues and put their work and their ideas on the table and debate with us. So I first going to hand out the thesis that deserve a merit. This was selected in undergrad and in grad by the group of critics and jurors and guests that they look and select the best work. These are never easy choices, since the majority of the work is absolutely extraordinary and compelling. And architecture is always a subjective quality. There you go. Shouting from the car. Check. So I want to start giving the merit undergrad thesis. This already we talked and discussed it in April when we finish, but I think it's important to recognize and celebrate that again today with everybody here. So the first merit undergrad thesis goes to Hyunjung Kim. This is your moment. Congratulations. And I apologize in advance if I might mispronounce your name. It's my revenge for all the years that people keep calling me Hernan. My name is Hernan, not Hernan. So this is my time to get back. So the next Merit Undergrad Thesis Award goes to Amanda Rahayuna Tias. The next Merit Undergrad Thesis Award goes to Joel Wong. Congratulations, Joel. The next Merit Undergrad Thesis Award goes to Jack Oliva Rendler. Congratulations. The next Merit Undergrad Thesis Award goes to Debbie Garcia. And the last of the Merit Undergrad Thesis Award goes to Adrian Wong. Now we move to what we just finished, like around 4 hours ago, which is the Merit Graduate Thesis Award that, on top of being recognized as some of the excellent work among an excellent class and an excellent thesis, they will be exhibited in our gallery in the next couple of weeks. So this is a high honor and also is a way for us to keep the discussion going. The first of the Merit Graduate Thesis Award goes to Joanna Chow Wen Chang. Don't act surprised. You have to behave like you expected. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Enjoy it. The next Merit Graduate Thesis Award goes to Aaron Choi and Kang Ho Yu.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
The next Merit Graduate Thesis Award goes to Jia Lee. Congratulations. The next Merit Graduate Thesis Award goes to Feiran Wang. The next Merit Graduate Thesis Award goes to Sidahara Shalamala. The next Merit Graduate Thesis Award goes to Zeynep Sinar. The next Merit Graduate Thesis Award goes for Menashki Dravid. Congratulations. Thank you. The next one is another team. The next Merit Graduate Thesis Award is for Zhengjing Jie and Casey Xu. Behind you.
Thanks.
The next Merit Graduate Thesis Award goes to Brendan Ho. And the last of the Merit Graduate Thesis Award goes to Pangal Kiran Nayak. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
So this year we are introducing the Edge Prize, which is a new prize for the best postgraduate student of the year, reflecting SCI-Arc core mission to test the limits of architecture. And the recipient is Samuel Pierce Myers. It comes with a check, so be wise what you do with it. Congratulations. So, the last two prizes that we have to give today, they come with an extra plus to be endowed prizes by two architects and their families that represent some of the best that the architecture has to offer in the whole world. The undergrad thesis prize is the Blythe and Tillmann prize. So if we can play the video, please.
Congratulations on getting this scholarship. Blythe and I are so pleased to be part of this and to remain part of the community at SCI-Arc in a program that's one of the strongest programs in the country, if not globally. I'm sure that you understand the importance and appreciate this unique opportunity to do the type of research that's happening here as you leave to continue your professional life. I can remember as if it was yesterday when I went back to grad school and had an opportunity to kind of readjust, retune, kind of rethink what architecture was or wasn't and my place in it, and how important that was to me. And I think back that I would be a different person, that I didn't have this experience, and you're in the perfect environment for that. That this has this immense kind of energy and power, and the synthesis or the synergy between your classmates, which make this event so powerful. I think it's important for both Blythe and I that both of us had to find our way in economic terms through our education, and we understand how important it is that you get assistance for this, and it's meaningful to us to be part of this. Congratulations again. It's fantastic.
We want to thank Blythe and Tillmann for the continued support and generosity to the school. And the winner of this year, the Blythe and Tillmann Undergrad Thesis Prize, goes to Connor Gravelle, which at the time remains in Seoul, Korea. So the last prize is the Gary Prize for the best graduate thesis of the year. Once again, reflecting the ambitions that this program in the school has, and it was done with the generosity and support of Berta and Frank Gehry. So we can play the video, please.
What I value is there's a humanity that's in your concept, I hope, that you're doing this for people, and there's a need to make these things habitable and humanly engaging in some way. And so when you conceive the idea, and then you got to go through all these filters to the end, you got to figure out how to get that to the end product. Ultimately, you engage a group with the building and with the aesthetic of it, and it works. And your signature is your intuitive, direct. It's not contrived usually. It's usually just, you write it, and they look different. And I think that that's what we're looking for, is that individual expression of the stuff we're made of. It's a great honor to be part of this family for all these years.
Okay, I think now yeah. So, as I mentioned earlier, the Gehry Prize is chosen by a group of distinguished guests, and after a lot of debate, after the 3 days of reviews, the Gehry Prize today goes to 2 remarkable students and 2 remarkable architects. The Gehry Prize goes to James Kubiniec and Keith Marks. Thank you. Congratulations. Congratulations. We're almost done, I promise. We're a little bit ahead of time, which is a good thing. I want to start my closing remark by thanking our graduation speakers, Marion Weiss and Deborah Garcia. Thank you, extraordinary job. To the people who ran the school with me, John Enright, Tom Wiscon, Elena Manfardini, and David Rue. To our extraordinary faculty, represented here by many, I can see Margaret Griffin, Michael Foloni, Michael Rotondi, Jackie Bloom, Kirsty Violet, Ramiro Diaz-Granado, Russell, Thompson. Todd, you're not the faculty anymore, so we're not going to thank you. But you were last year, so thank you very much. Andrew Sago, Ming Fang, Marcelo Espina, and many others are probably there I cannot see, and all the coordinators who are up here with me, Florencia Pita, Marcelin Gao, Marika Trotter, Herbert Van Gauner, Devin Weiser, Jacques Maitatayu, and okay. I want to thank to our Board of Trustees for the continuing support and presence, and particularly to the Chairman of the Board, who is such a champion and a force to reckon with every day. Tom Gilmore, thank you so much. I want to thank the staff of SCI-Arc who work tirelessly every day to make the machine run. This is an extraordinary group of people that works behind the curtains for all of us and the faculty and you guys as students to do what we're supposed to do every day. And particularly for the organization of this event, to Stephanie, Cindy, thank you so much for all the help. Once again, to Blaise and Tom Main for their generosity. So the same goes to Berta and Frank Gehry. It's an extraordinary honor to have their support for all of you guys. To Marcel Espina and Georgina Olkichev-Patton from the pavilion, which is still holding, which is kind of an amazing thing in SCI-Arc. And ultimately, to you guys, to the students and your family and your parents, this has been an extraordinary journey to share with all of you. You are the reason why we do this. You are the reason that you make us try to do this every time better. But I want to leave you with a challenge. I want to challenge you to hold the end of the bargain. You have to hold your end. You have to resist. You cannot become a conventional architect. You shouldn't. You must not. These are, as I said, extraordinary, difficult times, but at the same time, architecture is an act of optimism. And remember always this, the present is always better than the past, despite what we may think at any given time. So it is your job, it is your duty to hold the end of your end of the bargain. If you do that, we will keep trying to do our part. Every day, keep changing, trying to be a better school. So when you can go out, you can be a proud graduate of SCI-Arc. So, class of 2017, please rise. Take a bow. Congratulations. We expect great things from you guys. Enjoy the party. Thank you very much.